All right, what's up, fellas?
What's up, dudes?
What up? What
You
up?
guys ready to do this?
Yeah, dude.
Welcome back to another episode.
That's right. Boomer, you're almost set up. Totally.
Thank you.
I'm proud of you, dude. I really am.
Yeah, me too.
Thank you.
Progress, dude. Progress.
Not perfection.
That's right.
Yeah.
So a big part of the program.
Jumping right into it.
Yeah, let's just jump right into it. I want to get right into it today. A big part of the program is designed to bring us towards God, right? That's what we hear a lot about in the rooms. Working the steps. You know, we find the program, then we find God in the program. It's everywhere, right? All in the book, all that type of stuff. There's the other side of that, though, right? The struggle with God, or maybe the struggle of what to believe, or maybe not having to believe God, or whatever it may be. And Jordan, I know we were just talking about some of this stuff prior, and you were bringing up some of your points as well, just your opinions on this conversation as well.
Yeah, definitely. You know, it's just one of those things that I kind of struggle with a little bit. Not necessarily believing in God, but kind of just for one, religion in itself is just not my thing.
Right.
But you know, I have my own beliefs and things, but my biggest struggle is the fact that, you know, kind of what the program tells people and a lot of things is that you have to believe God in order to get sober, or that you will find God through the process of getting sober. And for a lot of people that, you know, they will find God, but what about those others that don't? What about the ones that don't want to find God? They don't believe in God. They don't want to believe in God. Like, for me, it doesn't seem fair to say that you can't get this program and you can't get sober if you don't find God. Like, I think there are plenty of other like things you can do in this program that help you stay sober and different things like that. So I just kind of wanted to bring that to light, because I know for a lot of people out there, like, one of the main struggles is finding the whole, you know, God aspect of the program. And that's for me, I mean, I've had it play my integral part, like, on things that I do, but it hasn't been like the main focus of my program. So I don't know. I just kind of wanted to open the discussion on thoughts, because we do say a lot of things like God shots and God did this and God's will and God's plan. Like, we all kind of have our firm belief, but there's a whole majority of people out there that don't want to.
All right.
And who are we to tell them that they can't get sober if they don't?
I agree. I don't think you need God for okay, I'll just speak in mine, because anything other than that, I mean, for me, I don't believe that I necessarily would need God for sobriety. I believe that it's possible to live a sober life without him. I just can't see a way that I'd find any happy, joyous, and free life for me without him. And I don't see myself working on any of my character defects without him. I'd see me going right back to some sarcastic asshole talking shit to everyone all the time. Like, I was a fucking pistol, bro. Like, before I like worked my program and like worked on my shit, dude, like, I was a dick, dude. I'd be like, what's this dude's problem, you know? So that's where it is for me. And that's kind of how I look at it is, you know, I want that reasonable happiness, right? That happy, joyous, and free. But I don't. I do think that if I were to tell somebody you have to find God to stay sober, and if we're just talking about the sobriety, I think that's a lie.
Yeah. And I think, you know, part of it comes back to the alcoholic and the addict in me that's like, don't fucking tell me what to do.
Right.
don't fucking tell people that they have to do this, you know, in order. So it's like you mix that part inside me with the, you know, just my thoughts on religion and stuff in general. Right. That I think that there are plenty of other, like the treatment center that I went to, they brought in people that would talk about the God aspect of the program. And then they brought in people that would talk about atheists in the program. And we never said the word God. It was always higher power at my treatment center, and just like different things. And so, you know, I know we've said this before, and for a lot of people, including some present company, it's ridiculous. But like, I don't find like the doorknob like analogy is crazy to think. And like absolutely insane, because if you gotta like just put all your faith in something and you're not a God person, like sometimes like that's the answer. Like the doorknob makes sense to me, but I know to like other people that are like heavy on the higher power and God aspect.
Myself, right, yeah.
Well, but I've talked to other people about it
right.
too. Like not just you. They're like, oh, that sounds ridiculous. But so I just like I said, I just wanted to open the dialogue and
Yeah.
see, you know, what we think about that aspect and advice that we could give to someone that's really doesn't want to.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and the doorknob thing, I mean, I get it too. It does make sense to me. I just don't think it provides any like substance, right? That's what I'm looking for. Like the whole thing that I'm always looking for is like the substance and the validity, or maybe not the validity is probably the wrong word, but again, that happy, joyous, and free. And actually, one of my sponsees, I'm like, this is a conversation that we've been having a lot because he was an atheist. When I took him on, he was an atheist, you know, and I never pushed anything on him. I told him where I stood on things, and I didn't push anything on him. I was like, bro, it's gonna be your journey to go on. You know, like I don't know what it's gonna look like for you, and just watching that process, and even just knowing of my own process too, inevitably he's coming closer and closer to be like, holy shit, man, this is insane. Like there's too many things happening, whatever it may be. But I'm like super interested and like curious on your story as well, because you grew up and you mentioned earlier, like you're not a big fan of religion, all that, and I'm not either. I really not. And I mean, I don't think it's any like secret, you know, I'm a firm believer in Jesus Christ, but I'm not a fan of religion either. Right. And I think the religious or the church will be the first ones to fuck it all up. You know, that's just my opinion. But you grew up in a church too, right? Like, so you grew up like playing in the band, like did that whole bit, right? And I see this a lot, and I'm always curious. Like, I always want to genuinely know like what happened, and it's not like a judgmental thing. Like, I'm just genuinely curious. I see people who grew up in the church, did the Sunday school, did the band, whatever it may be, and then inevitably, like not inevitably, but sometimes it's just like, nah, dude, fuck that. You know, like, so what was your situation like that led you to maybe finding like a different path and like a different view of God?
Um, I mean, like nothing. There's not like one in particular thing that did that way. I think for a lot of people, regardless of whether it's religion or just the way that you were brought up, if you're brought up that way, you eventually go the other way. You know, like because you did it your whole life, or you found problems with it, or you found things that you didn't like,
Right.
and so you're like, I don't want to do that anymore. I'm gonna, and you start having your own mind and your own thoughts that contradict, you know, what you believe. And so yeah, like even it probably started with the band, like even though like it was technically what we would say a Christian band because we talked about God, but it was the only thing we talked about with God, which is still in my belief today, was that God loves everybody and God accepts everybody, and and God is love. That's essentially all, you know, all that we talked about. So I still, like, for my belief, I still believe that. But when that's your belief, you talk to so many more people and find out so many more problems with the church, with religion, with different things like that, and all this stuff. So like little by little, I just started, you know, and plus I start to see, you know, when you grow up in it, you start to see all the hypocrisy, all the judgment, all of, you know, just everything wrong with it, that like now when I like walk into a church per se, it just feels fake to me. I'm like, everyone in here is struggling with so many problems, and we're all putting on this trying to be happy, perfect facade. We're trying to look like we have the white picket fence and we're happy at the church family. And like, we're all dealing with real fucked up issues.
Totally.
And if you bring up those issues and if you say anything about them in the church, like people, like at least the way that I was brought up, like people stop talking to you. Like,
That's horrible.
And like, because they're like, oh, like that person's not righteous. That person's not holy. Like, oh, you know, like I want to stay away from them. Oh, they have someone, they know someone that struggles with drug addiction. Oh, I didn't ever think this would happen in our church, you know, like things like that. And so it just, for me, like, I find more like comfort in like, so like going to our meetings and going to the rooms where everyone's like really open and honest about all the fucked up shit that's going on in our lives and that we deal with. And people are there to actually help,
Right.
you know, versus, you know, trying to go put on some fake facade at a church for an hour and a half to try to look like, you know, the perfect people. So, I mean, it's a whole list of things that I could get into that brought me away from that, but that's generally it in a nutshell.
I agree with everything you just said. I do. I 100% agree with everything. And first of all, that's super fucked up. If anyone like wants to cut people off for not being righteous, right? Because I don't know what book they read if that's what they're fucking trying to pull, right? I think that's bullshit. You know, part of my journey is knowing that I'm a flawed man. knowing that I'm a sinner, right? Like I fall short all the time, right? Like I will not live a perfect life. I cannot. I'm a sick motherfucker. Like all these things, right? But like knowing that God loves me still, right? And God has that forgiveness for me, and that shit stokes me out. Fortunately, I have not had the same experience. I feel a lot of the same ways though. And this is one of the things I tell people too is like, bro, like don't worship the church. Like don't worship the pastor. That's a man. Like we're like just this podcast alone, right? Inevitably, each one of us is going to fuck up on this podcast, right? Because we're just flawed men, right? Except for Goomer.
Speak for yourself.
Okay, and Donnie too, apparently.
I know it's a weird program. But whoa.
But I mean, if we're keeping it real, right?
No,
like
yeah.
at one point we will all fuck up, right? So, and that's one of the things too is like I don't go and I don't worship any man. Like I don't worship the pastor. My sponsor's a pastor, right? Like, and one of the things I talked to him about too is a lot of the same stuff. Is like, dude, I wish one day I just want to see someone go up there and just be like fucking real, just be on like, yo, this is what I struggle with. This is what I struggle with. You know, one of the things I had most respect for is one pastor was like, dude, I struggled hard with pornography for a long time. Like I was severely addicted to pornography. I was like, yo, what's up, dude? That's cool. Like, all right, cool. I'm like down to hear you out, right? Like John or fuck. Well, I don't think he cares.
Well, I'll still edit it out.
Yeah. And my bad, dude. My bad. But it's a lot of things that we talk about too, you know, just that, like you said, we're all struggling with something. And I love the fact that we have the rooms to go to, like us personally have the rooms to go to where we can talk about that stuff and like get it all out. You know, so I think that's horrible that you had that experience. I really do.
Yeah. And you know, I like my thing with kind of what you're saying with, so we don't worship the church, don't do this, blah, blah, blah. It's all about God and you know, don't put your faith in it. So then why go? Is my thing. Why go to the church if you know, like what's the point? If I'm just doing it to worship God, I'm going to worship God on my own terms and do my own thing. I don't need to go to this place and do this certain stuff. And that kind of ties back into going into the program. Like the church and religion and all that are like, you need to do this and be good and worship God and do this exact stuff in order to get these good things, or you'll go to hell. And then sometimes I feel like the program's like, you need God and you need prayer and you need meditation and you need to live in God's will. And you need, essentially, it's kind of like this religion, or you relapse. And not saying that like you don't need prayer and meditation and all that, but like it kind of starts to fit into that same box for me. You need to do this in order to have this. And it's that one common thing is religion and God. But it's like there's so many people in this world that don't believe in God, but are great people and deserve the chance to be sober. And it's like, I mean, if they end up finding God, I think that's great and awesome. But like, I want to see if there's a way that they can, you know, not have to worry about that fear aspect and not have to tell them that they need God in order to be sober. Because that's like imagine if I came up to you, you're a firm believer in God, and I was like, you need to be an atheist to get sober. You have to. That's like the way it works. And if you're not, don't worry, you'll eventually start hating God about halfway through the program and you'll figure it out. Like imagine if that's what I was saying to you, you know what I mean?
No, that's a really good perspective shift. That is. That is. It's a really good perspective shift. But just to kind of go back and just kind of touch on, I mean, there was a lot there, but just to go on, no, it's cool.
No,
It's cool. I'm
man.
really enjoying this conversation. I really am.
I love it.
I think, and I love the fact that, I mean, we can have this conversation. I think it's an important one to have. And that whole like, why do you need to go to church? I don't need to go to church, and I don't need to go to AA to stay sober, right? But why I go is because it's like exercising, right? Like I can exercise in my house, right? I can work out at my house, right? Just the same way I don't need to go to church to praise God, right? Like if that's what I'm relying on, I'm fucked, period. If I'm relying on this 1 hour on Sunday for my relationship with God, I'm already in the fucking shit anyway. Like my relationship and my connection is garbage. I have no foundation, right? It's a good place to start, but like again, if that's what I'm relying on, the same way as if I'm just relying on man, period, for like my sobriety and my happiness, like for me, I don't know how long it'll last, and I just don't think I'll be very happy. But the same way that I could work out at home, I can go to the gym, right? Why go to the gym if I could work out at home? Well, the gym gives me a lot more flexibility and options as to different muscles I could work out, different things I can do, right? The church provides an opportunity to go on missions trips or volunteer here. We have a recovery ministry at the church that I go to, right? So I get to get involved in something that I'm passionate about on 2 levels, right? So it's like for me, it's being able to go to the gym and have this many different exercises, many different machines that I get to work out. But again, I can technically get buff at home with enough push-ups, sit-ups, and fucking curls or something, you know? But again, I have more options and it allows me to kind of research more and like explore different areas that I never knew I was passionate about.
Yeah.
You know?
No, so I can only share on my experience and all this.
Yeah,
you
of
know?
course.
And I grew up Catholic, kind of like strict religion, stuff like that, and Sunday school, all that bullshit. But and I believed, in something, right? But it was through my growing up, and it was through the drugs and the alcohol and society of what was being fed into my mind that separated me away from any kind of spiritual connection. And I believe that's what drugs and alcohol or any type of external stimulation separates me away from any kind of connection. But it wasn't, when I came in, it was like I still believed in science, evolution. I create my own destiny. I do all this, all that. Like I believed that 100%, dude, and didn't believe in God at all when I came into the program the first time. But it was through witnessing all that and reflecting and stuff like that where that shit that showed up, dude, like huge for me. And as I kept an open mind, that was the first thing that started for me was having an open mind. And because my mind was so closed off to anything because of how programmed I was to not believe in anything greater than myself. I thought I had it all figured out and I could do this and I can do that all by myself.
Right.
What I came to find out is I couldn't do that alone, but I could do it alone, right? But it wasn't as good. And I didn't get that peace of mind and that serenity and that happy, joyous, and free
Right.
that I was searching for. And until I finally let go and surrendered to something greater than myself, that's when the real miracle started happening in my life. And then, so church, it's a building, right? The church, I mean, that's really not the church, though. It's just a fucking building.
Yeah, absolutely.
The church is us. It's people. It's the community. It's like-minded people that are looking for, a solution or to be better. And I go to church, for that hour and a half because I always get a lesson out of it.
Totally.
If I don't get a lesson out of it, I get a connection with another person, like some kind of relationship. I get the opportunity to meet people that go on mission trips and helps other people out that don't have that building or that community or that connection to go to. And it, like you said, all it does is enhances whatever I'm doing. I go to the gym, I'm around like-minded people. I'm going to see them succeeding at a higher level working out. So then I'm going to follow them. I'm going to see what they're doing and then I'm going to practice it. Same thing within the church, same thing within the program.
Yeah, I completely agree. But I think to Jordan's point on that too, so one of the things he's found is maybe that he wasn't amongst like-minded people, right?
That was my main thing
right.
that I took away from that, yeah.
So, and I think that can be a big issue for a lot of people, right? But I think fortunately, and there's such things as church shopping, meeting shopping, right? Like we all have certain meetings that we're like, dude, that's kind of fucked up over there, like this isn't very tight over here, like, I don't know, it's like, it's just not our thing, right? And that's totally cool. Like that's totally cool. But again, I do like the fact that you pointed out, like, in our situation, we have been fortunate enough to find like-minded people, right? We've been fortunate enough to find things that stoke us out. Like you just got done with that mission trip, dude. Like you went and I think that's amazing. Like you used your talent, like, and what I find funny about this too, and the same way, like you're about to go start drumming for the recovery ministry, right? Like that's using your tools in an effort to like build that connection with God or whatever it is, or just use your tools to carry the message essentially. Like you had all this experience in like construction and all that type of stuff, and you get put in a mission trip to go and build houses. Like, and that stems from at least like searching out that connection with God, right? Because that's what made you walk through that building initially. I'm assuming. Is that safe to assume? Or am I wrong in that?
No, yeah. I mean, so when I first started my journey in recovery, I started going to a church because that's what people said. In the program, they were like, I go to church, I do this. And I was like, when they said, do what other people are doing, I was like, well, fuck it, dude. I'm going to do what they're doing because it's obviously working. They're happy. They're making money. They have their family. They have good, healthy relationships. Like I want what they got. So I'm going to listen to what they're doing, and they said they go to this church. So I went to that church. fucking spiritual experiences, dude. I felt like that pastor was talking right to me every time I was there, dude. And then when I relapsed and I was still going there and I was, nodding out at church, dude, high as fuck, embarrassing the shit out of my family and everyone else that was with me,
Me too.
But I kept, but I still, I kept going, I showed up and then when I got sober again, I went, the same place and they didn't judge me. They didn't fucking tell me, no, you can't come back. Like they were there and accepted me right where I was at, and then, so when I came out here, I was like searching for that connection, dude, with people and in that lesson, dude. Like I just wanted to learn more. And every time I hear something, it's always a lesson because it comes out of the book and it's just filled with lessons for life, And so when I found this church out here, I went to another church and it was like I didn't vibe with it. I didn't vibe with the people there. It felt like that stigma of church, yeah. And it was like an older crowd, No, it was. It was like it was like an older crowd of people.
Smells like a stigma of church in here.
Yeah, no, dude, it did. Like it just didn't feel right, dude. I didn't, that vibe or the energy, it just wasn't there. So I ended up finding the other church, and I walked in, and I sat there, kept an open mind, and I listened, and it was somewhat like the church that I started my journey at. So I was like, okay, this is cool, man. And then from going to meetings, then I see people from the meetings that are at this same church, and then I'm like, all right, like. This is fucking dope,
Right.
And then one thing led to another, and then I always in my addiction, I was always like, oh, I want to go on a mission trip. Like, I don't know what sparked that in my mind. Don't know what, dude. Just something, And I would always talk about it, and I never fucking did it. And it wasn't until I was actually sober and had a clear mind, and I said, God put me exactly where I needed to be in front of the people that I needed to meet, and they were like. They had these mission trip tables all set up in the church, and they were like, whatever, go around and check them out, see which one, may be a good fit for you or you may be interested in. And one of the first ones I go up to, I'm like checking it out. Fuck guy turns around and it's the same guy that I know from the program, from AA there. And he's like, oh, what's up, man? You thinking about going? I was like, what the fuck, dude? Like, yeah. I was like, I've been talking about it. He's like, well, let's go, man. He's like, I've been on like 5 or 6 of them now. Like when I first met him, and I was like, all right, dude, sign me up. This is that open mind and that willingness to say yes to something that I've never done before.
Right.
To get some kind of result or to get a life that I've never had before. And that was it, dude, because that first trip impacted my life, in a huge way, dude. And I'll never forget it. And the guy that runs this whole big organization that's huge now, he shared at this last trip, his story and how he was very successful, engineer, had this huge company, like 70, 80 people under him, and the market crashed. So his company was going under. He had to lay off everyone except 3 people. And he was, he's a follower of, of God and everything. And he didn't know what to do. Like he felt like he was responsible for all these people, but he couldn't do anything about it. So that was when he was like, I never want to have that feeling again. So he closed everything. He sold everything he had, and he started this organization doing these mission trips. And he was like, he's like, you guys come down here. We build these homes and we help the community grow and people learn to do things, to make money and to provide for their family. He was like, and you guys will come down here for a weekend and build a house. And what you take back with you though, isn't just a weekend, isn't it just 3 days? Like whatever you learn here or experiences you have here will last and help you throughout the rest of your life. And also at the same time, we're impacting someone else's life for the rest of their life. Like when I go down there and this lady, who's 35-year-old, has a 9-year-old son, has nowhere to go, has an 8-foot by 8-foot box made out of pallet wood that it just holes through it with dirt floors and pallets as beds. Like, that's fucking crazy, dude. And then for us to build them an actual house with a toilet and like concrete floor and like a roof and not just plastic. Like that right there is impacting someone's life and giving them a chance to have a safe place to live. And it's wild, man. I can't explain it and except just to say, go do it. It's the same thing with recovery and sobriety. Like I can't explain it in words of how big of an impact it's had on me, right?
So Go ahead, Jordan. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh, well, I just wanted to touch on that because for one, that's awesome, right?
Yeah.
And like, I definitely am in favor for that, and I think that that's really cool to like hear and do all that. But to kind of play devil's advocate a little bit on the, as awesome as that is, the way my mind works is you don't need God to go on a missions trip. You don't need God to go build
No.
houses. You don't need, like, this is just for like those people. You don't need God to be a good person and like and give back and start a mission trip company or not and non-for-profit and all of that. Like all of that is amazing, but you don't need God to do that. Like, yes, that's how all of you guys came together and through all of that. And like the whole, and to just kind of keep going on the whole like open-mindedness thing about, you know, that's another one of my like little words that I'm like because it seems like it only works one way. Seems like open-mindedness only works when you're telling someone that doesn't believe in God to keep an open mind. But the other way around, it's like, well, I don't know anyone that's got sober without it. You know, that's kind of like, no, that wasn't a dig. That wasn't a dig at you. That wasn't a dig at you. That like that. That's I hear that from a lot of people, not just one in particular person. You, I'm just saying. So like,
I didn't even say that.
Anyway, but like, that's my kind of 2 cents to just kind of play devil's advocate on that a little bit.
Yeah, I totally agree. You don't need to go to church or you don't need to be God for any of that, right? But so again, what it comes back to me at least, and if someone's out there, whatever, doesn't believe in God, yeah, do some dope shit, right? Like go help out, go be of service. Like I wish I didn't need to reach the lows necessarily that I reached to find the tools that I picked up in this program, right? Like you don't have to fucking go to the depths of despair that we went through to be a good person, to volunteer for something, right? But again, so for me, I can't I know relying on my own strength is fucked. And that goes for pretty much whatever I do, right? Like I have to, like for me, my faith comes into play. And again, I'd love to be able to go back and forth on it, but I can only speak from one side of the fence on this, right? And that's why I love that we're having this conversation, but I can only speak from one side of the fence because I'm only willing to share on my experience. When I've relied on myself and I didn't ask God for help and I wasn't doing anything as far as that, and I wasn't putting him anywhere in the picture, and I was trying to start a business off pure self-will and greed, it fucking blew up in my face. When I was doing great in business in other areas off self-will and greed, and I was just satisfying my own flesh with it, blew up in my fucking face. Doesn't matter what I've done when it's ran by my shit. Like, and I'm like, just think, because naturally I'm a selfish, greedy, lazy dude, right? Like those are my character defects. That's me flawed, right? If God's nowhere in the picture for me, none of that shit's gonna matter anyway, because I'm relying on myself, and I will inevitably fuck it all up. And that's what my past shows, at least. That's what my history shows, right? And I'm not discouraging anyone out there from doing something like that. You're absolutely correct. You don't need that whatsoever. But for me, like I said, how sustainable do I want it to be? How happy do I want it to be? Those are the things that come to my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like,
no, there's a lot of people that go to this thing, dude. There's like 200 people there, man, and there's like some businesses and like other people that aren't actually like with the church, but like while we're there, dude, like there's a lot of people that are like, you know, having a whole transformation, dude, in their life, you know, because of this, dude. Like I can't. I mean, I think you guys should go with me, dude. One time, like this is my third. This is my
will
third.
go.
It's my third one going. But anyways, like people come there from businesses and different organizations just wanting to help. Like you said, Dylan, you don't have to be beaten and broken and get the gift of desperation just to be like, oh, maybe I should help someone now. right. Like, thanks God for not letting me die. You know, let me go help someone now. Like, I don't know what it was, dude. It was even in my addiction. Like I said, I had that thought and that want to like go do this, and like, and it's an adventure, man, and it's something. It's that being excited about the unknown. Like, what has God got in store for me now? And even the people that I go with, you know, they're all like, a lot of them are you know, come from that normal, grew up around the church, grew up, you know, being, you know, like normal, I guess, is what you say. And there is a
Whatever that is, normal.
whatever that is. I mean, everyone deals with struggle.
Alcohol, cocaine, and weed.
Yeah. Yeah. Like
normal drugs.
like they don't swear, dude. They don't smoke cigarettes. They don't drink any of that stuff. But they just don't do it, right? And so, I have sometimes a hard time connecting like on a deeper level with people like that. Then I go and someone's there that's like in the program, and I have this like really good bond with them right off the bat, And then like I go there, and the one guy that's from Mexico that works at the campsite, like where we stay, he like does a lot of the maintenance and gets stuff ready for everyone. He's in recovery, complete different background, like was with the cartel, like all this crazy shit. Like, and then for me and him to share this story together, or share our experience and strength, hope together, it's crazy, dude, to hear his side of the story and where he came from to where he's at now. And the biggest part in his story is when I surrendered and turned my life over to God. But for me to like randomly come to this spot like in Mexico, and I just talked to someone that did heroin and shot dope and all this stuff and sold drugs and probably killed people and all this stuff, but then has been reborn through something greater than himself, like that shit was fucking powerful, dude, and it stoked me out.
See, for me, and that's awesome. And like, just I was having this conversation with my sponsor the other day, and like when I hear things like that, and like it gets talked about a lot in the rooms and all this stuff, because like my belief's not there. That's not the biggest part of my story. And like everyone all the time, like in the rooms is, side note, they say, oh, just pick a higher power and believe in it. And it's just a small part of the program, but it'll get you there. But it's 90% of the meetings is what we talk about. It feels like sometimes. And I feel like I'm missing something in my recovery. Like it's making me feel like I'm missing something in my recovery because it's not part of my story. And that's like the main thing that I have a problem with.
Sounds frustrating.
Is like I wouldn't feel like I'm missing something if people weren't telling me I was missing something, and like, or constantly like making me feel that way. And I don't think I don't think I'm missing something. I think my recovery is just on par with everybody else's, and then we all have our own different story. But that like aspect of like, that's the thing that saved me. That's the biggest part, and this and this and this, and 90% of all the stuff that we talk about is God and higher power. I like it frustrates me a little bit because it's like I'm not there, or like, and I don't necessarily like want to be there. Like I have my own story and I'm doing my own thing, but
that's all it is.
It's easy for me to like feel left out, so I can imagine someone that has like no belief in it. Like,
that's all it is, man. I think that the program is like built on that. It's like I guess my experience was like you said, going back to like what you're talking about, my will, myself, this and that, and separating all from like a religion or the word God or higher power and all this stuff, dude. It's just, it helped me mold my will, like break my will completely, that I'm not in control of shit. And that is to say whatever that means for anybody out there. Like me controlling anything, I make a mess of shit, dude. My brain doesn't work. It goes back to having a disease of addiction with self-centered, self-seeking, like everything is about me, 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 me. So when we make a decision to a higher power, God, or whatever you choose to call it, man, it's just, I think that's all it is. I don't think you're missing anything out. I just like hearing you like talk about it. Like I was terrified of God coming in. Like I didn't know I had resentments towards God. I fucking hated God. Like F God, this is, I didn't like God, man. I fucking didn't want to hear God. But it is because it was stemmed from like, like you say, Donnie, everything usually comes from like stem of fear. It's like I was scared of God. I was scared to let go and turn my life over and lose control of the things, because I truly believe I can make anything happen for me and I'm in control of everything. And if all the pieces line up together, then I will be happy. But I don't know. Just going back to it, just like I lost my train of thought, but it was just, that was my, that's where I was going with it. My perspective is like, that's all I chose to hear. Like in meetings and shit, like when I had a problem with it, I was just like, fuck, dude, like I don't want to hear God. I don't want to hear God. I don't want to hear God. And it's like, and that's what's all in my mind. And that's what the things that I was struggling. That's why when I go to meetings and it's the thing that I'm struggling with, and I go to a meeting, it's like, fuck, dude, that meeting was exactly what I wanted to hear and needed for me. It's because that's like my perspective and that's my focus. And that's some internal shit that's moving inside me that I'm focused on. And I'm not saying like, oh, I'm not taking your inventory or anything like that. I'm just like, that's all like hearing you, it's like triggering all this in me now. It's just like, damn, dude, I remember like all this shit. And like you said, now I'm like presented with an opportunity to play drums. And since childhood, dude, like that's my fucking thing. And now it's like, and it's all working on his timing, dude. Like if God, higher power, whatever, life, the universe, like whatever that means to you, like if it all like the path and it comes easy, like why not, man? Like one of my goals is like from the podcast and all that, dude, if I can be like in the age, like we're in our 30s, right? So it's like we could
Almost.
Nah,
Went over
dude.
that.
So like, I'm holding on tight. Dude. 29, going strong.
Hey, sorry,
Like,
continue.
I just want like recovery to look cool, right? It goes
Yeah.
back to that first time I heard that dude on stage in church. I had to go to, I went to church. He invited me. I didn't want to go to church. I'm like, dude, I don't want to fucking go to church and this and that. But it was a spiritual experience for me, you know? And it only grew my relationship with my God and my understanding. And it's amazing. Like I don't fear God, man. And I don't really want to get into religion because I've studied it. And I've sat a lot of people that believe in science and people that don't believe in God. And I have seen people like in the program that are completely like no God. And they're happy as fuck. It's just
Really?
yeah, sincerely.
I
dude.
would like to meet them. That's because I haven't, and that's why I'm so interested in this conversation because I haven't.
Me neither.
I haven't. Like, and that's awesome.
They
I
have
want
a
them.
higher power. They just
Yeah.
don't call it God.
Well,
Or they don't see it that way. And I think that the doorknob, dude. I remember in rehab, one of my counselors, like one of the first meetings, dude, that I went to, he's like, if you don't have a higher power, you better fucking get one because you're gonna fucking need it to fight as soon as you leave out here and go to and try to deal with this disease of addiction. And that always stuck with me. He's like, I don't give a shit if it's a religion or anything. And the last thing he mentioned was like, he's like, I don't give a shit if that's that chair that you're sitting on, if that's your higher power. And that always stuck with me, dude. And one time I saw this old timer that I always sat in the same chair, and I was like, why is he like? And I got mad at him. I was like, dude, like leave that chair for somebody else, you asshole. And I get mad, bro.
You guys holding on
I
for
know,
dear
and then,
life
like,
in that.
So it's like, and it goes like, and it's weird concept. Like, let's say God's playing or working in his life, and like I remember I started showing up to meetings early because I wanted that chair. And that's when that whole concept, like, if you want to choose a chair in the room as a higher power, but that's keeping you sober and building your relationship with your higher power and God. And it's like, it's a process, it's a journey, and everybody's on their own fucking timing. Like, I struggle, dude. I remember in rehab, like I was praying, and they told me like, dude, try to imagine something for God. And I was like, all right, well, what do I think? And I imagined an angel, dude. My twisted ass mind earlier, like my mind started undressing this beautiful angel and shit, dude. Like, I'm just like, damn, dude, like shit, dude. Like, I'm fucked up, dude. I'm like, that didn't work. So then I like, and I was just like,
that didn't work.
so that didn't work.
Or did it?
I'm serious, dude. I'm serious, bro.
And there's the title for the episode.
Did it do it for you?
No, dude. But I was like disappointed in myself. I was like, what the hell's wrong with my thoughts, bro? What's wrong with me? So then, like, I remember this vividly, bro. It's like bedtime. I was kneeling. I was doing the whole like, you know, like church God thing. I was kneeling on my knees and trying to pray, and all these thoughts were loud, dude, because they're loud, dude. And when you first get sober, dude, and I was coming down off everything, and so I picture this angel. I'm undressing her. I feel like shit. Then I was like, all right, like, why don't I try a dove? So I fucking try this little beautiful white dove, dude. And then my mind like brings the fucking 18-wheeler, dude, and it was like smashes it. And I'm like picturing it just stuck to the wheel. Like it's just, I struggle with God, period, bro. So then like it started with like just the win, like something simple, man. And that's how my relationship with God started, man. Like I was locked. I was tied up to a bed. I was like desperate for a fresh breath of air, dude. Once I was like got my privileges back and I was able to breathe air, it's just like I felt like I was reborn, man. And I just grabbed onto that concept, and it all made sense. Like my mom's prayers and everything, dude. Like I don't know. I just went on a fucking crazy rant.
No, I think you touched on a lot of stuff. So one of the things that I don't like is that I feel like people get caught up in the religion, right? Like talk religion, and that's what's associated with God. It's like, dude, that's not even what I'm talking about here, right? Like, again, I'm not interested in religion, and for like me, again, being a follower of Christ, I'm like, dude, the religious people are the ones that killed him, not the sinners. Like his boys were the sinners, right? Like, so I don't associate that with religion again because I associate religion with flawed men, right? The church, like you said, I love that you pointed out, like the church is, that's a building, right? Like it's the people and like what we do, right? But if you go, and one of the things that I liked about it is that you were seeking out your journey, right? Like you weren't necessarily worshiping one man or a building or anything like that, right? You were seeking out your journey, right? And I agree with what your counselor said because it happened for me, right? Like if I relied on you or my sponsor or anybody or a pastor or whatever it is to stay sober, I would have relapsed by now. And I know that because there was a time where it almost happened. And the only thing that I had was a foundation and a connection with God that kept me sober. Now, again, I believe you don't need to, there are people out there who can be sober, right? But what I don't understand is how somebody can work the steps to the best of their ability without finding God. And if it's just like a meeting thing, and that, okay, I'll say that for me at least. I don't see any way that I could have worked these steps to the best of my ability and not found God, right?
And just just to interrupt you there, and maybe they will.
Yeah,
and that's great. I don't have a problem with that. Like the more the issue is like telling them right when they come in, oh, like, well, you're gonna find it. Or, different things like that. Like, I just want to present a more open.
You think it could scare them off?
Yeah, I want to present a more open and say, that it's possible. And if they do, great. Like, I have no quarrels with that. No problems, no issues. But to rely so heavy on it up front and tell them, like, I just want to present with people that that it's possible and kind of show them that, I think a little bit differently than the rest of the three of you guys here in this group. And just kind of throw out a little voice and just open a dialogue, So I don't have anything against people finding God. Like I said, I believe in a God of my own. I just, have my own thoughts on the situation.
Right.
Necessarily. Sorry about it. Didn't cut you off.
No, it's totally cool. I don't even remember exactly now. I mean, I kind of got caught up in what you were saying. But
it goes like, just keeping it simple, right? Whatever works for you. Like just don't do bad shit. Like, right?
Be a good person, don't be a dick.
Like, be of service, clean
Don't
house,
do
and help
drugs.
out others. You keep it simple, dude. Like, if like whatever your higher power is a group of people, the meetings or whatever. Like I hate that because I remember a newcomer did come in and he's like, "Fuck, dude, the one place that I didn't want to fucking talk or hear about God," and it was like a meditation meeting. So he went on a rant, dude, and then some other person shared and was like defending God and this and that and I don't know. I think it just stems from childhood, I guess. At least for me, like I recently made an amends to God, like, and it was crazy. Like I had a crazy experience because I was struggling with something and I was just like, and I genuinely, I was making all these amends and like we had that amends conversation. So I started like refreshing my brain and started thinking about like, oh, I know I left some out and there's still some that haven't presented because thanks to Donnie. I fucked up on timing on one of my amends.
Just a little bit.
Dude, I know what you're talking about.
Go ahead.
Like the 12 and 12 talks about perfect timing and the opportunity will arise and this and that. So I've been praying about it. And then it just hit me. It's like, dude, like I've had this resentment towards God. Like I know God's going to love me, my higher power, my journey, the way I see him. It's like, and I just made an amends to him and I just started crying to him. I was like, dude, I'm fucking sorry. You're the one that's been there the most, so I just made an amends to him, and it was a good moment, man, and it's all just for me, my journey, and what I believe in.
Right.
It started from just being able to. My higher power started from sitting in a chair in a meeting to win, and now to almost joining religion or a group church or a community, getting entertained, drawn by music. One of my first loves and passions. So it's my journey. It's been amazing, man.
It's been dope to watch.
It's been amazing, at least for me, dude. And like that actor scenario is just so amazing, dude. Like that shit blew my fucking mind, dude. When I read that shit, and I struggle with that shit, dude. Like,
Dude, when I read that, I was legitimately writing a movie at the time. I was like, I had this big idea. I was like, and I was gonna direct it. I was gonna star in it. I was like, everything that it said. I was like, fuck. I was like, that movie would have sucked.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it would have sucked, but
I'd watch
it's just,
Thank you.
So it's a presence, man, where it says, now lay it on this new foundation. You felt his new presence. And that's how I feel now, man. I was reborn from there. It's just like you said, I'm man. I sin all the fucking time.
Right.
All the fucking time.
Well, and even more too is I found the 12 steps. Not everybody goes through the 12 steps to get sober, right? I think we can even take this conversation like a step further and be like, meetings. So we dropped a TikTok recently, and there were a couple of comments like a little bit upset. Like they were like, yo, 3 years sober, don't go to meetings though, never did it. They're boring, yada, yada. And I was like, and my only response was like, dude, if you're happy, then I'm happy for you.
Right.
Right? Like, I'm not going to tell you what to do to get sober. Like, I'm just not going to do that. I'm not going to tell you what to believe, anything like that. If you're happy, then I'm happy. So I think even just to go a step further than the God within the program, because again, for me, I don't know how I can't avoid it. It's like 90% of the book. It's the steps are all designed around it, right? Like, you can't avoid it. But again, like, that's not to say somebody necessarily has to take the same path that I took with even the 12 steps or the meeting. Maybe that's not somebody's jam. Maybe there's, whatever, the Dharma or smart recovery shit. I don't know. I don't know much about it, but I'm just saying, like, I'm not even saying anything. What?
That's the third time I heard that, like slapping my face about that program, Dharma.
We used to have meetings that came to my treatment center.
Yeah, that's why.
Good.
That's what reminded me. I remember you talking about that. So
that's
I don't know.
crazy.
That's just something that I said. I just responded to that lady. I was like, dude, if you're happy, I'm happy for you.
Yeah. Like, so my one grandpa, he was bad alcoholic and did whatever, pills, stuff like that, and he stopped drinking and doing all that and was sober for the rest of his life. He stopped when he was like in his 50s until he passed away when he was 80. With no meetings, none of that, dude.
Was he a happy dude?
Yeah, he was pretty happy, pretty funny. But but how
funny.
But he was hilarious, dude. But like on the surface, yeah.
Right.
But internally, you never know how
Right.
someone's actually feeling internally.
Right.
But no, there's I fucking and any way to get sober and stay sober, dude, go for it.
Yes. But again, for me, it comes back to that happy aspect too. Like, because I refuse to do sober fucking miserable. That's the only thing that I'm convinced of sobriety. I don't want to do it miserable. I'll go through my roller coaster. I'll go through my ups and downs, and I'll wait it out because I do believe this too shall pass. But like my lifestyle and what I choose to do and how I choose to, whatever, like the growth patterns that I'm trying to obtain, it's gonna have a lot to do with how well I'm living, right? Because dry drunks, I've went through a phase of a dry drunk, and it's not tight. It's fucking miserable.
Literally the worst.
It sucks, right? I'm disconnected from God. I'm disconnected from you guys, right? But again, for me at least, it really comes down to like if I'm relying on any man, period, or any event or any like outing or fellowship period alone, like if that's my recovery, like I don't think I'm gonna be bummed the fuck out because give me enough time, I will disappoint you, right? So inevitably, I will be disappointed by man. And again, for me, that foundation, it's rocky, man. It's rocky for me,
Same here, man.
That's what works for you, I guess.
No, but no, it's too like you got. So I was in the rooms before you guys came there, right? And you guys always joke around and ask me like, "How the fuck did you stay sober?" And there's been one constant thing in my life since I started, and that was always my higher power. Like a lot of people have came and a lot of people have went and people have passed away. People have overdosed and died. Like people that were in my recovery, a lot of them people went back out and shit. But there's one constant thing that's always been in my life and in my mind that I continue to try to turn my life over to every day. And that's my, God of my understanding. And that's like, I don't know, that's always there. Like you said, no man, no meeting, none of that is going to keep me sober. For me, that's in my experience,
Yeah.
Yeah. So. Well, again, that's my experience as well. And I know you said like, that's my, dude, we have a lot of conversations. Dude, everything that we talk about, it doesn't seem like you're reliant on man either. I don't.
Oh no, my journey is heavily on God, but I guess from like what Jordan's like point of view or argument or from what he's trying to stem. Like like I love to not push anything on anybody else. Like I'm strong on that. Like especially when it comes to sponsees, like wherever they're at, if they believe in God, don't believe God, or anything like that, or people, like I just like just I guess hearing you talk, like you've never seen no one be happy, joyous, and free, and it's only your perspective of what happiness
That's what
and
I've
what you
said.
accept.
Well,
Like
yeah,
that's
of course,
that's what it is. So like I've seen people genuinely happy, and I'm just like, are you really? Because I don't see what I want to see in you. And it goes back to like my religion and stem from God. Like I didn't believe in God, and I got away from God because I see my mom and live and just have her whole life live by the Bible and religion and church, and she's an amazing woman. So like that's where my resentment grew from. It's like, well, I seen someone do it like hardcore. I was raised by it, and just because I didn't think she was given the stuff by God the way I would thought that God should treat her or give her, so that grew like a huge resentment towards me. Like that's where it stemmed. Like God doesn't work. I've seen my mom do it for many years, her whole life, and it's like I don't see the blessings that I want to see, like or the things that I think that she wants or is gonna make her happy or that she deserves. So, like going back to all that stuff, it's like that's what happiness looks for me from God or a religion or relationship to that. But so like people that don't believe in God or higher power or don't have a higher power that are happiness, like it's my perspective of what happiness is, what I want to see in them, I guess. If that makes sense, right?
Yeah, no, it definitely makes sense.
It's what I want to see out of you, that you're gonna show me what happiness
Yeah.
is to me. You
Yeah.
know? But you
like,
could be,
you don't know like you don't know your mom. Like maybe she
and she is.
She's fulfilled and she is happy and maybe she has gotten all the blessings from God, but you're not seeing what you thought God should have given her.
Dude, she checks me all the time with that because I've had these long conversations with her, and she's like, Mijo, like you're sober. You can't believe that you're a fucking miracle, dude. You haven't even how many times I did fasting, I prayed, and I shed tears for you many years to get sober. She's like, dude, I'm blessed. I have everything I need.
Damn.
I'm like, fuck, man, like. Holy shit, dude. Like, is that all you want? It's like, why don't you want more shit? But it's just my perspective on everything. And, you know, it comes down to my will, selfishness, what I want, and my world, my movie, all my scripts. I don't really know how people are, what they're struggling, what internal, what makes them truly happy. You know, it's like someone that has all the talents to build a company and be successful with the billion-dollar company, if that doesn't make them happy and living in a simple house in a shack, goes back to early recovery, those conversations. I don't give a shit if I'm in a mansion or in a tent in the woods, bro. I just want to be okay. That's internal shit.
Straight
like
up.
at least so for I guess going back to the happiness and higher power and I never like would just that I don't know, man. It just bugs me that you said that, I guess. Like you've never seen anybody happy, joyous, and free.
Yeah.
That is not a strong believer in God, I guess. I don't know. That just
I can see how that would rub you the wrong way. I could totally see how that would rub somebody the wrong way.
And it's one of my
it's just my experience though.
No, I know, and I respect it. It's one of my defects too. It's like I think in rehab they call it like a rescuer. Like it's like comes from like, you know, bullying, like having past bullying and shit like that. So it's like imbalance and fairness and shit like that. So like I strongly believe in God. I have my relationship with him. I love him. He loves me, and he talks to me every fucking day. He humbles me, and it's a beautiful fucking thing. Like it's amazing, my relationship with God. And like you said, I wish I could give this to someone because that's what I need, and that's what makes me feel happy, light, and freedom. Some people might not need that. Some people might not meetings. Like some people can stay sober without the shit that we do. It's just so fucking big that you can't pinpoint it on anything, and just
I agree.
So I don't know, like when a newcomer comes in and they're like, you know, fuck God and this, fuck higher power, like fuck this, and it's like, yo, chill, bro, like relax and let me talk to you for a little bit.
Oh, dude, well, my guy, like the conversations I've had with people too who were struggling with God, you know, and all that type of stuff. I was like, dude, like let's just not even. Did you state like, are you sober right now? Like right now, that's good enough, dude.
Yeah,
you know, that's good enough for a newcomer, someone brand new in the program or trying to get clean. I'm like, dude, I'm not looking to bombard you with information.
Right.
I'm not looking to overwhelm you with shit. I'm not telling you to jump to 6 and 7 and start praying that you have all this shit removed from you right now. Like, dude, let's just fucking kick it and let's just
Yeah.
try to stay sober. But if that's
Yeah.
what that kid relies on throughout his sobriety, is me kicking it, now he's fucked.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
But I agree. I don't want to scare someone off up front, you know, and
Yeah.
again, and that's why I don't like when people preach in the rooms. I don't like you got to do
Right, you've always
this.
been
You
big
got
on
to.
that.
I don't
You've
like it,
always
dude.
been
I
big on
like
that.
I and me statements.
That's how
When I
keep it,
share, I
too.
share with I and
Mhm.
me statements because the last thing I want to do is preach to the room. You got to do this. You need to do this. If you do that, you do that. Like fuck you. I don't have to do shit.
It goes
You
back
know?
to that whole like what Jordan was talking about going into church. You know, they like throw it in your face. So it's like you get defensive and being an alcoholic and addict. Like, well, fuck you,
We're
dude.
defiant, dude.
Well, let me break
Absolutely.
Let me
and I
break
think
it
that's
down
big
to
too.
you.
I'm glad you brought that. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Like, let me break it down to you and why you need to fuck off. Like,
Fuck yeah. You tell me what I gotta
But
do. I gotta tell you why you gotta fuck off.
it was simple. Like going back to that third step. It's like the first thing in rehab they told me is like when going back to that meeting. It's like people that don't believe in God stay sober. People that believe in God stay sober. The only people that don't believe in God is that people that think they are God. And that what that meant to me. It's like living in my will, self will. I can run the whole show, and I do this, and me. Because eventually I'm gonna slip and put so much shit on me, and I can't control and juggle, let alone my thoughts and myself, let alone other people and other shit in life. So it's like eventually, like from my perspective, it's like I will fall and slip and relapse, one guarantee.
Mhm.
And it's so much easier. Just the thought, the belief, the hope that comes to like, yo, I'm not in control, man. I'm just gonna try to do the next right thing. Keep it simple. Like I'm cool. Like stay in my little lane, dog.
Yeah.
Like, chilling, dude.
Yeah, dude. And like one last thing that I wanted to touch on that you said just like a couple of seconds ago too, or whatever was, you know, and I'm not saying like let the person that come in that's like fuck God, fuck this, fuck, and like let it go. Yeah, you know, you're right. No, like that attitude on anything has to change. You know, if you come in and you're like fuck Skittles, fuck M&M's, fuck, like bro, we need to work on some
And
stuff.
Marshawn Lynch.
And Marshawn Lynch. You're like, bro, we need to work on some internal
Fuck
stuff.
Skittles.
That's a good
Like
point.
the first thing that popped. Like I'm
That's
not
some
saying.
Seattle ass shit right there, bro.
I'm not just saying like just let them come in and be like, yeah, you're right, and you know not try to work on that inner self.
Yeah.
But you know, just for the regular, you know, your friendly neighborhood atheist that you know, or something. You know, I don't know. It's just my thought on that. But no, I think I really enjoyed this conversation.
I did too.
And like I
It's
said,
an important one.
I wanted it to just open a dialogue and to, you know, let people know too that, you know, we talk a lot about God because we all have our higher power and all that stuff on this show. But there's so many options and it's not something that, you know, like we all said, it's our own journey and stuff that we're figuring it out. And
Speak
like
for yourself.
good.
I
But like
need
you said, as
statements,
long as you get like, you know, something that gets you out of your will,
Yeah.
you know,
I just
because
know,
our will takes us, you know, to the same place every time.
I just know that there's been moments where there's no meetings, no one answers the fucking phone,
Mhm.
and it's just me and my thoughts, and my disease face to face. And I got nothing but prayer and God sometimes, man. And that's been so many times where that's all I had, and it's worked for me. So
Yeah.
that's just for me.
I agree, man.
Same here, man.
Absolutely.
And the best thing is, you don't have to grasp it all and wrap your head
Fuck
around all of
no,
it.
dude. Fuck no.
That's the best thing
Oh,
about
dude.
it, dude.
I ain't even gonna try.
The hell no.
I ain't even gonna
Not even
try.
close, dude. Yeah, I'm a big fan. Yeah.
Take it in.
God,
take it
I
in.
don't
There's levels.
understand
There's
it,
levels
period.
of this shit.
Yeah. It's too big for me to understand, dude.
Comes
Yeah,
in
and I'm
waves.
down with that.
Comes in waves. Yeah.
Oh, dude. Well, that was good, man. I really think this is an important conversation. I think it's a healthy conversation to have.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I really enjoyed it. Thank you for that, Jordan.
Mhm.
Appreciate you
Good shit,
talking
man.
about that stuff as well.
Spitting and smoking.
Donnie.
Daily Donnie.
The
Right?
Daily Donnie.
The Daily Donnie
Fuck Skittles.
Damn, Jordan, why you gotta yell in the
Sorry.
mic, bro?
I'm turning mine off.
Damn. What,
Your headphones will still be.
They don't know that. They don't fucking know that.
oh man. When times are good, man, we got to be grateful, and when times are tough, we got to be graceful.
Damn, I dig it. Good shit, Donnie. All right.
Donnie's mixtape out. 20, at the end of 2021.
Oh, nice. Well, that was a great conversation. Thank you guys for that. That felt good. And it's really nice to record at a decent time. I feel like, it's present.
We were very coherent today.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, it was good.
Right on, dude. Well, Goomer, Jordan, Donnie, thank you guys so much for keeping me clean today. Everybody out there, thank you so much for being a part of my recovery. Please like the show, subscribe, leave a comment, share it with somebody. We thank you so much for listening to another episode of Not So Much.
Boom.